So as promised, I said I would do a little day-to-day look. So I thought it's Monday morning, Evie's back to school, I'll do it today. So this is me having my morning cuppa, zero makeup on my face, quite daunting. So I'm just going to go through some of my favourite products, some stuff that I would use just day to day for either the school run or if I'm going shopping or if I'm working, but stuff that I know stays on my face. Obviously it's stuff that works for me. Your skin tone and the type of skin that you have might be completely different, but feel free to ask. I'm just going to post these on my stories, but I'll save them on my highlights as well, just so you can come back to them, and just, as I say, give us a shout if you've got any questions and I'll try and help you. A lot of these products are available on Look Fantastic, which I'm an affiliate with, so a lot of them would be discounted on their website. I'll add my code on here as well. But I'm just going to go through my day-to-day look. What I'm going to put on today: going to the bank, doing some housework, need to go food shopping, but just something that gives us a nice fresh face, doesn't make us look too tired, and something that's going to stay on. So if you're working in an office or if you're working from home, or if you just want something that you need a look that you can just put on, that's going to take you all the way through the day and then fix it up in a night time if you're changing it to a nighttime look. So I'll talk about my products as I go, but just give us a shout if you've got any questions. So to start with, obviously I've cleansed my face this morning. I'll double cleanse in a night time, and I just do one cleanse in the morning with the CeraVe SA cleanser, which seems to really work for my skin. I do still get a lot of hormonal acne around my jawline, but generally my skin condition is a lot better than it used to be when I was in my 20s and 30s. I think double cleansing's made a massive difference, to be honest. I'm needing my Botox, so not really much I can do about that. So I'll just talk about what I've used so far. So I've washed my face this morning, and then what I usually put on is the Body Shop Skin Defense, which has got SPF 50+ in it. SPF every day. I never used it all the way through my 20s. Terrible. Started it in my 30s, but honestly it's made a massive difference to how my skin is. I would just put this on even in the winter. There's still UV rays out there, so if you protect your skin, it'll thank you for it. So I normally put this on. It's nice under makeup anyway, so you're not going to have to worry about it oxidising with your foundation. It doesn't do it for me anyway, but I normally put that on first. So I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of moisturiser. So I'm going to use the Embryolisse Late Cream Concentrate, which you can get from Look Fantastic. It's also readily available in Superdrug and Boots, but I think only online. Whenever I've looked in the shops, it's not there. So I'm just going to pop a bit of this all over my face. So it's adding a bit of hydration, but it's also really nice primer for under your makeup as well. So I'm just going to put this on with my fingers. You can apply it with a brush if you want to, just for day to day. I would just chuck this on over the top of my SPF. It works on most skin types, so if a client tells me they've got oily skin or dry skin, I can't use this. If you've got drier skin, the Weleda Skin Food is very nice, but I just find for people with oilier skin that's a little bit too rich and too thick, so this is just lovely. It sinks into my skin, but it's going to sit nice under my foundation. I also like to add a little bit of vitamin E cream under my eyes. I found this one works fine. I've tried so many eye creams over the years. I don't know if you can see it. It's literally the vitamin E cream from Superdrug. So this just adds a bit of nourishment. So if you're finding that you're getting dry under eyes, just add a little bit of this underneath. Don't go too close to your lash line because you don't want it going in your eye. And just let that sink in. It just gives it a bit of a bit of skin moisturisation, just so it helps your concealer sit a little bit better. But it sinks in dead quick anyway. So just make sure that's rubbed in. There we go. Ta-da! So personally, I love the dewy look. Doesn't really work on me. I have too many open pores and fine lines. It just doesn't really work. So what I tend to do is, for myself, I like my skin to just shine from underneath, so I tend to put something on my base rather than adding just a little bit of foundation and then no powder. I like to feel like my makeup's set in place without it looking too heavy. So what I usually add on first underneath my foundation is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This is shade 3, might be a little bit dark for us today because I haven't really got any tan on, but this is a wonder product really, it's fab. You can use it by itself. I do usually use this by itself on holiday, just all over my face with concealer on under my eyes and to cover any blemishes. Today I'm going to use it under my foundation just because I want it to give us a little bit of illuminating base. So I'm going to take a brush, I'm going to pop some of that just on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to sweep this all over my face. It's just going to give me foundation a little bit of just something else. I'm running out with this one, so I should probably get my other one out. I would say probably the most used shades are, I use 2, 3 and 4.5. 4 is a little bit grey, but if you want us to help you with the shade, just give us a shout and you can tell us what your sort of colouring's like. To apply this, I'm going to use the Molly O'Brien brush, who these are actually no longer available, much to my devastation. But this is just sort of fluffy but flat brush. You can see what I mean. So I'm just going to take the product on my brush and I'm just going to sweep it across my face. Not going too close to my eyes because I don't want to add too much product under my eyes. Where there's fine lines, you want to try and avoid them with too much product if you can. So I'm just going to take this all over. Don't need much on at all because it's just going to be underneath the foundation, but it just gives you a bit of a glow from within type look. For some people, as I say, in this summer, this is enough if you've got a bit of a natural tan anyway, or if you just like a lighter coverage, this is enough just by itself because it does give that lovely glowy dewy look, but for me it's just not enough to quite even out my complexion. But you can see where the light catches it, it's beautiful. So if you think about it, if you just added some concealer here and some bronzer, it's a nice just quick look if you just wanted something just to high on, just to make you feel a bit like you had a bit of coverage. So that's nice just by itself or underneath my foundation, as I'm going to do it today. So next I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear, 32 Hour Fresh Wear. This has got, it's a bit of a hybrid foundation, so it's got vitamin C in it as well. It's also got SPF 25. I've only just started using this, to be honest, but whenever I buy something out, if I'm going to use it in my kit, I always like to try it on myself first, just so I know how it works. And I'm loving it. Actually, this is shade 125 beige, natural beige. But it's nice. It seems to last on my skin all day. Like when I wash my face on a night time, it's still on there and it's still looking fresh. So I'm going to pop that all over. Again, I'm going to try and avoid just my eye area because I would rather concentrate on using a bit of a colour corrector and a concealer under my eyes. But I'm going to bring this right down onto my neck to cover my scarring. That's the secret as well. If you're looking for a shade to match your skin, don't look at matching your face, look at matching your neck. I've got a little bit of tan on today, but just to make myself feel more alive. So this is a perfect shade for us when I've got a little bit of a tan on, probably too light for when I've had a spray tan or if I'm going out. So I'm going to pop this all over, but I'm going to use a brush. This is one of my favourite foundation brushes ever. An Australian makeup artist introduced us to this, and it's amazing. So it's hard to describe. It's pretty dense, but it's fluffy at the same time. It's got quite a flat head, if you can see it. It's literally like £10 or something, and I've got about 5 of these because I just love them. I use them on everybody, and then I usually go over and just bounce a beauty blender over my foundation, and that just gives it that nice soft finish. So I'm just going to pop this straight onto my brush. Just a couple of pumps. Just go in it with layers rather than just adding too much straight at the same time. It's a good idea to just pump some of that out and then take it onto your brush. So I'm just going to sweep that onto my skin. So you can see that it blends nicely with my face, but it's still that tiny bit lighter than my neck, so I know I can darken it up with a bit of bronzer. So I'm just going to take that all over my face. Let me set a little mirror so I can actually see what I'm doing. So I'm avoiding under my eyes, So as I say, I don't want to take my foundation all the way up there and then have to add concealer over the top. Especially once you get into your 40s and above, I feel like if you're getting fine lines under your eyes, you want to try and just layer thin products up, so avoid up going right up there with your foundation. I'm just going to add a little bit to my head. Realistically, unless you have a lot of pigmentation or scarring or spots on your forehead, don't technically need as much product, so I'm just going to put a little bit on there. It's a smaller area, so to avoid your hairline and everything, you may want to use a smaller brush. Realistically, your forehead should be one of the places that needs less coverage. You're susceptible more to lines on your head as well, so just use a thin layer on there. So you can see that's evened my skin tone out really nicely, but I've avoided my eye area. Depending on what you're wearing, I usually bring my foundation right down onto my neck, but that's just more to blend it in. Make sure you've got no lines there. And we'll go over the top with our beauty blender just to make sure there's no harsh edges anyway. So I'm just going to take my beauty blender. This is the Box Beautiful sponge, which I absolutely adore. I've just opened this one about 2 weeks ago, but before that the one I was using had probably lasted us about 8 months, if not more. I do look after them though. If you get a sponge cleaner, they'll last a lot longer, but this is a Box Beautiful one and it's just lovely. I've given it a little wet this morning, so if you let the water soak into it, really squidgy it out just so it's nice and spongy like this. It just means that it won't absorb all the product into your the sponge, and it'll just bounce nicely on your skin. So all this is going to do is just going to soften up the foundation and just blur any imperfections. So I'm just bouncing it over. I've got no product on here. A lot of people prefer to put their foundation on with a beauty blender, but I just feel like a lot of the product gets lost into the sponge. So I prefer to do it this way. But I would sometimes use this for my concealer as well. So just make sure you've got no harsh edges from where you've left your gaps, where your foundation hasn't gone up to your eyes. Because we just want it to all blend seamlessly. So I'm quite happy with that. So you can see I'm still glowing from underneath, but I've just got a nice even coverage and my complexion's looking a little bit smoother there now. So now I'm going to go in with concealer. So dark circles, although I have them, they're not a massive issue of mine. I feel like the discoloration on my eyelid is probably where I have more of a concern. So the same concept works obviously with concealer. It's about finding the right one for under your eyes, which works with your skin. I use a few different types of concealer, so I generally tend to stick with NARS. The NARS Creamy Concealer is lovely. It's not as heavy, but I just find sometimes that it just sits just a little bit too oily on under my eyes, so I prefer the Soft Matte from NARS. This is shade Vanilla, which is one of the lighter ones, but it's nice for highlighting under your eyes. What I'm going to go and do first though, I'm going to go in with a colour corrector from Charlotte Tilbury. I'll show you the shade of that. It's shade 1, which is fair. There's other ones which are darker. It's just got a nice sort of pinky peachy tone to it. And what I do is I usually go in with this first, just under the parts that I really want to conceal the most. So you can see I've got a lot of purple sort of here on my lid. So I'll just go in with my finger and just colour correct that part first. So then when I go to add my concealer, I need the tiniest little bit of product. So it's going to try and help us avoid the product sticking into me lines. There's no way of avoiding eye creasing. You've got lines on your face, and if you're having a nice time and you're actually moving your face, then you're going to get eye lines. Just enjoy that. But you can try and alleviate them as best you can, and this will help. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit on my middle finger, and I'm just going to go in where my main problem area is, which I think is just here into my socket and then onto my lid here. I get a lovely good night's sleep every night, so I don't know what, I don't think it's genetics, honestly. Obviously a good night's sleep helps, but I just think if you've got dark circles, you've got dark circles, so you can see the difference there between that eye and that eye. It's just took the shadow away straight away. So I know now that I don't really have to add much concealer under my eyes. I can just put a little bit extra on just to give us that bit of coverage. But you can see there straight away the difference. Just look nice and awake, which is what we want. Just going to do the same on the other eye. So I'm just pressing that product in, just really gently with my middle finger. Just make sure it's blended. Yeah, so just look brighter already. Then I would go in with me concealer. With this, I'm going to take a little brush, which is my absolute favourite concealer brush ever invented, but you can't actually get these anymore, devastatingly, but it's got a flat angled edge, if you can see that, but it's still fluffy at the same time, so it just literally melts away your concealer. So I've already got any of this left, but I'm just going to take a bit on my brush, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pat that in. I'm not going to necessarily go up as high as where I went with my colour corrector. I'm going to sort of bring this down the side of my nose here, just to conceal any other discoloration. I'm going to let the colour corrector do most of the work around my actual lash line. I'm just going to bring it round so it's just blending into my foundation. I'll sweep a little bit over my lid just to make sure there's no redness left there. Yeah, so you can see that's just blended away. But literally I'm just using the gentlest little strokes with that tiny little sweeping motions, but all I'm doing is just pulling the edge of the concealer across my skin, really. I love that. I love that stain. So I'm going to do the same on the other eye. Again, just starting a little bit further down, just so we're not going too close to the lash line. And just bringing it down the side of my nose, around here to cover any redness. So at this point, if you've got any parts of your face that you've got blemishes or you've got scarring like me, or just any redness, you can just use the product that's left on your brush. Just go over those parts. Then you're not hiring loads of concealer on your face, you're just literally topping up the bits that you've already covered with foundation, but just to take away any discoloration. So just add a bit more if you want. Well, I think sometimes with concealer, if you're using them on spots, if they're dry, adding more concealer can actually make them look worse. So the idea there would be just to sort of add a little bit of product and then just sort of blend around it, even using your finger, just so you're not plonking the product straight onto your spot. Scarring's a bit easier because there's not usually any raised dry surface, but just check I'm happy. So there's hardly been any product on my brush there at all, but because of the type of brush that I'm using, it's just helping us to just melt away any product that's on there onto my skin. So I think I'm quite happy with that. On to the next step. So once you're happy with your base and the coverage that you've got with your foundation and your concealer, because we've got quite a flat looking skin now, I think we need to go back in and add some cream bronzer. If you haven't got time to do this bit, then your powder bronzer is what you need to do it with. I think a lot of people have just, from the 90s, have just literally gone and put a full face of foundation on, covered all their imperfections, and then they just put a bit of blush on. But you've got to bring your contours back into your skin, because my face looks very flat now. And I don't have much of a cheekbone anyway, so I need to try and create one. So if you've got time, this step is quite vital, but this is a cream bronzer stage. So this is the Pink Honey one that I'm going to use now. It's the Bronze and Face Frosting in shade Buttercream. It's quite a versatile colour. If you've got a darker skin tone though, I think this is probably a bit light for you. I usually use this one on people with lighter skin and on myself when I've got no tan on. So to apply this, I'm literally taking the cheapest brush that I have, but I love it. It's from Home Bargains. It's an Olivia Hale one, which is actually rubbed off now. I think it's about $1.99. I've got about 6 of these. The best contouring brushes ever. And they just wash up lovely as well, like for $1.99. None of the bristles come out or anything. Obviously they're synthetic, but they work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this product. You'll see a lot of people just adding cream bronzer straight onto their face with a brush in lines, which is fine if you're doing a bit of a heavier look, but I think for day to day, just getting out the house, you've got more control this way. And if you're just starting out with contouring, this is probably the best way to do it. So I'm just going to whisk it into my brush. Obviously it's a creamy product, so it's going to come straight off onto your brush and it's going to come off onto there quite heavily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and draw myself some cheekbones on here, but I'm going to do it in quite a natural way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my brush, start it up here next to me, whatever they're called. What's it called? Next to your ear. I'm just going to whisk that down my face in a circular motion. Try not to go too high or too low, because we want to put some other product on as well as this. So it looks quite scary when you first put it on, but it does blend away really, really nicely. I'm going to use the same brush and the same product, not dipping in anymore, and I'm going to just sweep that up onto past my temples and up onto my forehead, just where the natural shadows of your face would be. I'm going to take it down into my jawline as well, just with what product I've got on there. I haven't added any more on at this point. And that's just going to bring my jawline back, hopefully, she says. I'm going to bring it right under my chin, back in, and just finish blending this away. So I'm not coming as far as my nose, I'm just sort of working down towards me where your natural contour of your face would be, just towards my mouth, but not up onto my cheeks. Again, I haven't added any more at this point, because I don't want my face to look dirty. I want this to look natural. So you can see now the difference in my skin there compared to that side, which still looks quite flat. I'm just going to take some more, do the other side. Do the same on this side. So you can see the difference straight away. My chin's back and my pretendy cheekbones are back. I'm just going to sweep a little bit of this over my lid, so that's not too white. And then I'm going to take a little bit more product just on the end of my brush, tiniest little bit, and I'm just going to run that down the side of my nose. Each side. Don't have to be too precise because we're not doing any heavy contouring, any heavy baking or anything like that. We're just giving myself a nice fresh face. That's going to make me look awake, give her a bit of a glow for a Monday. Okay, so if you're happy with that cream product, what I would do is I would just take a concealer brush that we've just used for concealer and just make sure we go back over anything that we don't want to have a shadow, want to keep still the bright area bright. Haven't put any extra product on here, literally just going back over with my brush to keep the light areas light and away from the dark area that we've just warmed up. Totally missed a step out, didn't I? So I managed to get my hands on one of these, the new Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Matte Beauty Wand. It's basically cream blusher. Only started using cream blusher like in the last probably 6 months. I've always been petrified of it. A lot of my clients are over 30, and I think when you see these makeup artists on TikTok and that, and they're putting loads of this on, and then heavily contoured faces, it's absolutely beautiful on like 18-year-old models. You know, the Charlotte Tilbury models have got absolutely beautiful skin, but for normal, nice people like us, this is quite scary. So I've been using it, and I've heard amazing things about this. So I tried it yesterday, and it was a bit different to how I would normally look, but I loved it, and I felt still really glowy by the end of the day. So it's got a little sponge on it. It comes like this. This one is Pink Pop, I think it's called. Yeah, Pink Pop. So it's quite pink, and I don't normally wear pink, I normally wear peach, but I thought I'll just give it a try. So I'm going to pop a little bit on this Real Techniques brush, which has got a flat head, but it's quite fluffy. Literally the tiniest bit, that's all I've got on my brush. And I'm going to just add this to me, just above my apples. Not much at all. If you're a blusher person, then you'll love this. I'm scared of blusher, on myself anyway. So I just want to put this on my cheeks just to give us a bit of a flush of colour before I add any powders. So I'm just going to start here. You can see straight away that's just took effect. Before I use too much, I'm just going to add a bit to the other side of my cheek, and see the placement. I'm not coming too far down onto my apples. I'm starting here on my cheekbone. And I'm just patting that product in. I'm not whisking or anything like that. I'm just patting it in. This is a perfect brush for this. It's fab. And I'm just starting to work it across my apples with the product that's already on there. Same on the other side. Obviously, if you like the look of a nice coloured cheek, add a little bit more to it, but I prefer to add less and build it up if I need to. So you can see that's just gives us a little bit of a sweep of colour. So it's not taken away from the bronzer that I put underneath. It's not touching my concealer where the bright areas are. I've just used it on my cheekbones and blended it away. So you can see I've got a flush of colour, but it's nothing too much. It's just nice and fresh looking. Okay, now time to set it. And I've just realised I need to get another brush. Hold on. So once all your cream products are, you're happy with them, so you can see I've still got my lightened area under my eyes, I've got my nice sweep of colour across my cheeks, and my contours are back in my face. So once you've done that, even if you've got quite dry skin, you still need to try and set some of your cream products, just so that they're not just sliding off your face or your skin's not drinking them. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to set the lighter part of my face, so the part that I want to look more bright, so that'd be under my eyes and just under me contoured area here, and a little bit across my head. So where the light would naturally hit your face, that's where you want to keep lightened, just to keep you looking fresh. So to do that, I'm going to use the Laura Mercier Blurring Translucent Powder. This is called Ultra Blur. It's quite a new one. Similar to the normal translucent powder though, it's just got a slightly different coloured lid, and it's got blurring particles in it. So I'm going to use that. So very light. Shouldn't really have any colour to it, but it's just going to set the lighter places of my face. So I'm going to use the Marvellous Trigwell Cosmetics Powder Puff, the Velvet Puff. You'll have seen this trending if you're on TikTok. I'm not, but I've followed them for ages, and she's done amazingly. So this is the large powder puff. So I'm just going to take a bit onto the tip of my puff, and I'm going to apply this under my eyes. Not too far up, but just where I've got my powder, my cream highlighter, sorry, and concealer, and run it down my nose. So the parts that I put my lighter concealer onto before, I just want to set those bits. So if anything's going to control your creasing, this is going to really help with it. Okay, so you can see that's just took the shine off, but it's still nice and glowy and bright. The same on this eye. Down my nose. this is the stage if you've got makeup that particularly comes off in certain places. So if you find your T-zone gets very oily, or you find that around your nose your makeup oxidizes, this is the step that's going to keep that in place. So once you're happy with how your cream products are sitting, pop some of this on over the top of the cream products, and then this should help to hold it in place as the day goes on. So I'm going to pop some on my chin. Again, just still in the places that I want to be lightened and brightened. So you can see that's just softened it up. It's kept the brightness, but it's just still nice and glowy. So I'm just going to run this down here under where I've put my cream bronzer. And it'll just bring the cream bronzer back to life a little bit under where my pretendy cheekbones are. Do the same on this side. And a bit across my head. So I've got no extra product on there, but again, it's just going in and setting those places that I feel like my makeup's going to come off, if it's going to come off anyway. I touch my face loads during the day. I'm a nightmare for it, I always have. So this is just going to help keep my makeup on when I'm touching my face. So once you've done that, there's no excess product on there. We're not heavily baking the skin or anything, but we've added a bit of extra product. So I'm going to leave that just for a few minutes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my bronzer now. So the powder bronzer you want to be using in the places that you use the cream bronzer. So down your cheeks, across your temples, along the middle of your forehead, under your jawline, and then just down your nose. Because we're not doing heavy contouring, we can sweep this across without worrying too much. So I'm going to use shade Medium Dark in MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. I love these bronzers, they're just amazing. I've tried loads of different ones and I always go back to these. The shades are just really nice. They're nice and warm, they're not too grey. This is shade Medium Dark, which sounds dark, but it's actually not too dark. It's quite, oh hi. It's quite a natural colour. So I'm using another one of the Livia Hale brushes from B&M's. So it's a bigger brush. It's still nice and fluffy, but it's a bit bigger. So I'm just going to take that across my cheeks first, not going too far across my face because I still want to keep my apples bare so I can put a bit of blusher on them at the end. But I'm just sweeping that up where I put my cream bronzer before, across my head, onto my eyelid, onto my jawline. Don't need loads of product, but just reapply for the other side. And then just down my nose. If you are going for more of a bronzed look, you can just pop this all over your face. But obviously it's only March, so the warmer weather's due to come after this week by the sounds of it. So this would be nice just to sweep all over your face as well in the warmer weather if you just want more of a bronzy look. Okay, so I'm happy with that just for now. Obviously that will have touched some of the product that I've just put on prior to this, the Laura Mercier powder, but that's okay because we were going to be wiping that away anyway. You can go in and add a little bit more bronzer if you like the more bronzy look. Because I don't have a lot of tan on, I think that's about as much as I'm going to add to my skin. And then I'm going to go in with blush. So just to finish off before I put my brusher on, this is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. This is in shade 1, which is the lightest shade. It's great for under your eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sweep away any excess product using a little bit of this. So if I've left any of my translucent setting powder on, or if my bronzer's sitting too heavy in places, I'm just going to finish it off with this. So I'm not going too high up my face, but I'm just going to sweep it under my eyes. Just in the parts that I want to keep light. Under here. Chin. if you want to add, if you feel like your face gets oily, this is a good little product to have just in your makeup bag. If you take it to work with you, Fit Me matte and poreless powder, cheap as chips, so many different colours. A lot of people use this under their eyes. I feel like it's too heavy for under my eyes, but if I needed something just to top up to have in my handbag, this is what I would take with us. I'll just use a bit of a tapered powder brush, and I'm just going to sweep that in any areas that I feel like might oxidise during the day, just to give myself that finished off look. But because we've put a nice illuminating product under the foundation, you can still see a bit of a glow, so I'm not looking too matte and caked. So for the blush, obviously we've already applied a little bit of a cream blusher, but we're now going to just put a little bit of powder blusher over the top. As I say, I'm not a massive blusher fan. I just don't feel like it suits me if to add too much, but some people absolutely love it. So fill your boots with the blusher, but I'll show you exactly where to put it, just so you don't look like Aunt Sally. This is the MAC powder blush, and this is shade Melba, which is a nice, it combines nicely with the one I've just used, the cream blusher. It's a nice peachy pinky colour. So I'm taking an angled brush. This is another Box Beautiful one. Fabulous brand. Started off using eyelashes, she's launched into brushes now. She does lip glosses, amazing. Check out her page, I've tagged it on my other post. But I'm just going to pop a bit on the angled brush, and I'm going to start at me apples for this and sweep up. So you can see I'm just sweeping it where I put my cream blusher before. And it's just going to try and help to create a bit of just a bit of a cheekbone. Have to draw them on, but some people are blessed, I'm not, unfortunately. So not a lot of product on there at all. The brush is just helping to just evenly distribute it across my cheeks. Lovely. Now I'm looking a bit more awake. So if you're happy with that, just spritz yourself with a bit of setting spray. If you're going out to work all day, or if you're going out for day drinks or whatever, then that's what's going to help keep your makeup on as well. The one I use is the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. I haven't actually got it out, but just give yourself a spritz of that at this point, because that's most of your makeup finished. If you want to add any highlight, this would be the time to do it. Just here, down your nose, on your cheeks. I'm not going to put any on today because I'm literally going to the bank and going food shopping. But if you wanted to, for more of a day-to-day look, if you were going out, then just add a little bit across your cheeks, top of here, underneath your brow bone, and just down your nose, just really gently. So day to day, I don't really wear eyeshadow. I don't really wear loads when I go out now either, to be fair, now that I'm a bit older, but I'm just going to pop a little bit of bronzer onto my lid, just to give it a sweep of colour, just so I look like I've got something on. You can see the discoloration's gone now, now that I've put my concealer on, so I've got a nice blank base. But all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a fluffy shadow brush. This is a Doll Beauty one. I'm going to just pop a bit of bronzer on, the same bronzer that I used on my face, so it's not too dark. And I'm going to pop that just across my lid, no higher. I'm just going to pop it into my socket on my lid, just so I feel like I've got a bit of colour on there. I'm not going any higher than my socket though, because I don't want it to look like I'm actually wearing eyeshadow. I just want it to look like it's not just a flat colour. Yeah. Really subtle difference, but if you're the sort of person who likes to wear eyeshadow day to day, or feels like they need something on the lid, then this is the perfect step for it. I would then take what product's left on the brush and just run it along your lower lash line, but that's just going to keep your lower lash line really clean and crisp. But just finish off the corners. There you go. Total subtle difference, but it just looks like I've got a sweep of something across my eyes now. All I'm going to do now is to finish my eye off is just use another Box Beautiful flat brush. I'm going to take a bit of the powder, the Fit Me powder. I'm just going to take a little bit of that on the brush. I'm just going to pop that into my inner corner here just to keep that nice and bright. Just onto my lid, but not too far across. Just to make sure that that discoloration that I got rid of before doesn't come back. It just keeps my inner eye looking really nice and bright. If you wanted to add an eyeliner at this point, this would be the point to do it. I don't really wear a winged liner, it doesn't suit us. Sometimes I'll smoke a little bit of either a dark shadow or a smudgy kohl pencil just along my lash line, depending on where I'm going. But just for today, I'm just going to leave the rest of my lash line quite nice and crisp. I'm going to use an eyelash curler just to give them a little lift. So this is, again, the Box Beautiful eyelash curler. It's Lush, best one I've ever used. So it's just going to give me lashes a little lift before I put my mascara on. So we'll just give them a little curl. If you just keep it on each eye for 15 seconds, it's just going to give them a little lift from the root. If you've had a lash lift, then you won't need to do this, but mine is well overdue, so you can see the difference there straight away. Just do this before you pop your mascara on. Literally takes like 30 seconds. If that, and then you can see there I now have lashes. Woohoo. So I'm just going to pop some mascara on them, bottom and top lashes, and then that's those done. Right, so I've just used the Sky High Sensational Lash Maybelline mascara. I use a few different ones. I do like this one. It's got a nice thin brush. It's good for getting into your bottom lashes. So I've just put a couple of layers of that on. I'm now going to go in with the brows. So depending on how your brows are, depending on if you normally do anything with them or not, my brows are quite a big thing. Obviously being a lash technician, I'm quite big on them, but I don't use loads of product on them, to be fair. If they're nice and freshly waxed and tinted, then I think it makes a massive difference, and it's much quicker at how long it'll take you to do them in the morning. So what I do with mine is I usually use the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. I swear by these, I love them. One end's got a spoolie, one end's got a lovely twisty thin pencil. This is shade Ash Brown, which I use on myself, and I use this on quite a lot of people. It's very good colour for just a general brown eyebrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the spoolie end and I'm just going to brush them up. Obviously this is going to completely depend on how your eyebrows actually are. If you like a big fuller brow, the steps are pretty similar, but this is how I do mine. So once they're all brushed up, they look better straight away. I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to start on the inner corner here and just fill in along the bottom here, where it's a bit more sparse. So because this pencil is so skinny, it just creates a nice little line. I'm just going to elongate that a little bit just so my brow looks a little bit longer, and I'm just going to continue that along just to straighten off the underneath of my brow, following the natural brow hairs. I'm not taking it any further down. Okay, so then halfway across my eyebrow here where my natural brow line is, I'm going to just use my pencil just to sweep across the top, again following the natural brow line, and I'm just going to create a bit of an arch for myself, and then just tail that off down onto my tail. So you can see there I've created a bit of an arch, and then I'm going to brush that up and fill it in. So I'm just going to fill in those with the little hair strokes, because this brow pencil is so fine. You can just sweep it across to create hair strokes, so it keeps it nice and natural looking. Just makes my tail look fuller, but it also makes it look like I've got a bit more of an arch. So to fill in the front bit here and give you that little ombre effect with your eyebrow, once you've got this little line here, you can use that to create a bit of a smudge. So I'm just going to very softly, but only halfway up my brow, actually draw in little hair strokes. I'm not taking them all the way up though, because I don't want it to look too blocky. And then I'm going to take my spoolie and I'm just going to push into that colour, so it's sort of smudging it and dragging it up my brow. So by doing that, you're still leaving yourself a little bit of a softer edge up here so it doesn't look too blocky, but it's filling in the colours for us. And I'm just going to use my spoolie and just blend away where I've drawn in. So you can see the difference. Really subtle, but I've got a nice fuller eyebrow. So I'm just going to do the same on the other eye. Ta-da! So once I've done that, I'm just going to go in with the NYX Control Freak brow gel, just a clear brow gel. And I'm just going to run this through them just to keep them in place. Just like that. Really subtle, just nice full brows, yay! Okay, nearly done. I'm just going to use the MAC Strip Down Liner and the NYX Butter Gloss. My favourite shade is Bit of Honey. There's a few different ones that I use, but Bit of Honey is probably my favourite. I feel like this was the one that suits me the most. It's nice and creamy and it doesn't give the lipstick effect, so I'm just going to line my lips. Do not come in here. John. And then just going to add on a bit of this, but you can just carry this with you and just apply it whenever you want because it doesn't really need a mirror. It's just nice and soft. It's got the consistency of a gloss, but it feels like a lip balm at the same time. And it's cheap. So if you want a list of any of the products, I'll pop them on the next story anyway. If you want any of the discount codes for Look Fantastic, I can add them on there as well. As I say, most of the things you can get on there. But if you need any recommendations for anything else, any shades, just give us a shout and I'm always happy to help. So I hope this has helped you with nailing your day-to-day look. But just give us a shout if you've got any other questions at all. Have a good day.